Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Wax Whisky Review. My name's Jeff, and in today's episode, if you couldn't tell from the multiple whiskeys in front of me and the copious amounts of red wax, we're going to be doing a Maker's Mark blind flight today. Or as I like to call it, the Red Wax Whisky Rumble, which is kind of hard to say. So yeah, I'm not going to get into the long history of Maker's Mark or anything like that in order to keep this video a little shorter, because this is probably going to be a longer one today. But I do hope to review maybe starting with the regular Maker's Mark and kind of go down the line one by one at random points, and I'll kind of get into the history a little bit more there. Just know that they are one of the newer big Kentucky bourbon brands compared to the long histories of a lot of the other ones, other than craft of course, but they're also kind of one of the big dogs as far as bringing bourbon back, from the shadows of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, kind of when vodka and clear liquors were all the rage. So Maker's Mark, is kind of credited as one of them that helped bring it back. So I guess to go over what we've got here for the flight, and again, I'm not going to review every single one of them in detail. This is going to be me knowing that there are these 5, but I'm going to mix up the order. So I've already labeled the bottoms, I've already written that down, and then I'm just going to mix them up and taste them all, see which ones I like best, and rank them from last to first, and then we'll do the reveal at the end. So I'll edit the actual what I'm drinking at the time so you guys know, but I won't. I think that's kind of a more fun way to do it. So let's get into the whiskeys. What do we have today? Starting with this one, we've got the regular Maker's Mark. Now, I wanted to go over the mash bill real quick. I believe, as far as I know, all the mash bills for all 5 of these are the exact same. Now, instead of using rye as the main ingredient for the mash bill, Maker's Mark is unique that they use red winter wheat. It gives it kind of a softer, sweeter flavor profile than some of your non-wheated bourbons. So the mash bill for all 5 of these is going to be 70% corn, 16% red winter wheat, and then 14% malted barley. It's a pretty standard recipe. I believe that Bill Samuels Jr., kind of the founder of Maker's Mark, went through 7 different mash bills or recipes before landing on that one. So again, all the mash bills are the same. The main difference is I'll kind of get into them, what they're going to be. So regular Maker's Mark here, it's your tried and true flagship. It's going to be 45% or 90 proof. And again, that's the regular mash bill. Really no bells and whistles beyond that. The next one I've got on the line is Maker's 46. Now, the 46 doesn't have to do with the proof, which is what I originally thought. It actually has to do with the stave profile. So real quick, one of the things Maker's Mark does, which is really cool, is they finish some of their bourbons in a specific blend, I guess you'd say, or combination of charred oak staves. Now they've got different types of wood depending on which flavor profile they want to go for. So for this one, the Maker's 46, it was the 46th different combination that they tried, and they liked this one, so they stuck with it. So that's why it's called Maker's 46. So this one is just finished in 10 French oak staves that have been charred. I believe they've been charred. Doesn't say, so we'll just say 10 French oak staves. So that's the Maker's 46. This one is going to be just a little bit higher in proof at 47%. So 2% higher than the regular one. The next one in line is going to be Maker's 101. Now, kind of like with Wild Turkey 101, that actually does have to do with the proof. So that's going to be 101 proof, 50.5% ABV, but otherwise it's going to be the exact same as the regular Maker's Mark. There's no stave profile finishing with the 101. It's just regular Maker's, dialed up, bottled at 101 proof. Now the next one is really special. This is the 2021 limited release Maker's Mark. This is called the Stave Profile FAE-01. This is the brand new one for this year that Maker's Mark came out with. They had, I believe it was 1 or 2 different special releases or limited editions last year that went over really well. From what I understand, they're trying to get at least 1 or 2 out every year. This one was finished using virgin oak staves. So that's the stave profile for this one. It's also the only one other than the 46 out of these 5 that have been finished in a different stave profile. All the other ones are going to be kind of the same, just a different proof point. So this one, the proof is going to be 55.3. Now that's actually going to be the exact same as the regular cask strength, which kind of leads up to this last one. That's the fifth one I have here. So this is the cask strength, same proof, 55.3%, as this one, but this one hasn't been finished in those virgin oak staves. All right, so now that I've gone over the different whiskeys, hopefully I didn't leave anything out here. I'm gonna set these kind of aside just to give myself a little bit more room, mix up the whiskeys, and we'll start. All right, so now that we've got these mixed up, I'm gonna start at this one here, work my way down the line, go all the way back, and then kind of A/B test and compare some of them that might not have been right next to each other in the line, just in case there's some different flavors that I pick up, next to each other versus not. So let's start at the first one here. I'm gonna try to keep this a little bit shorter. Okay, and what I've done, a lot of the bottles are new on this. I noticed that I had a lot of Maker's Mark that I hadn't opened yet, so I figured this would be a really fun, kind of perfect test to kind of pit all these against each other. And I let these sit out for, I'd say it's been about 20-25 minutes or so since I poured these, try and let them open up, since 4 out of the 5 of these weren't open before. All right, so on this first one, I mean, it's good. I'm definitely getting some ethanol here. Yeah, there's definitely some, once you get past the ethanol a little bit, there's definitely like a lot of spice and cinnamon. There's also quite a bit of cherry on this. It's been a while since I've had Maker's Mark, so I'd also like to preface too that I haven't had 3 of these before. I haven't had the 101, I haven't had the cask strength, and I haven't had the limited edition one. But this has a pretty good nose. Let's try it here. All right, now that's coming in pretty hot. I'd like to also say this is the first whiskey I've had today, so I'm gonna have to let kind of my palate acclimate to that alcohol burn a little bit, and I'm hoping that once I have a couple sips that I'll be warmed up a little bit and be able to pick out some different things. But this one right off the bat is coming in pretty strong. A lot of good flavors going on here. Like I said, there's a lot of just brown sugar, cinnamon, and a lot of that cherry coming through. Now there's quite a bit of, say, oak or woodiness to this one as well. Once that cherry and brown sugar, caramel, vanilla, there's going to be a lot of the same characteristics in here, so I'll try not to repeat myself too much. On all of these, as with most bourbons, I'm probably going to be picking out vanilla, caramel, brown sugar. It's just going to be, different variations, hopefully. I'm going to be cleansing my palate with some water here. I've got my water in a mason jar because I'm a basic bitch. But it's always good to cleanse the palate and also stay hydrated. All right, so let's go to the next one here. Okay, so this one's different, which is good. These aren't all the same 5, so you'd hope that there'd be some difference here. Well, this one has kind of like a darker brown sugar to it. It has like a little bit more of a depth, I'd say. I don't know if that really translates over too well, from smell or taste to words, but this just has like a darker nose to it, if that makes any sense. All right, let's try it here. So this one almost has kind of like a black cherry thing going on, whereas this one is like a regular cherry. Again, if that makes any sense. There's also a different scent in here that I can't really put my finger on. It is very different from this one. The proof is definitely there. Like I said, even 90 proof, which is the regular Makers, it's up there. It's not 80 proof. So let's go to the third one here. All right, so I'm not getting as much right off the nose on this one as I was with the other 2. Yeah, this one's pretty mild on the nose. I'm picking up more of the vanilla, brown sugar, less cherry and fruit. Let's give it a sip. This one, I think, a little bit lower proof. At least that's what I'm picking up on. This one's more of kind of like easygoing. It's a little bit easier to sip. I'm not picking up as much ethanol, but also there's just not as much flavor, not as much nuance or complexity to this one so far. Again, it's kind of just those stereotypical, you know, bourbon notes, the brown sugar, caramel, vanilla. There might be a little bit of fruit, but not nearly as much as these first two. All right, so that one's not bad, but it's not my favorite so far. Let's go to the fourth one. All right, so kind of like with this one, I'm not picking up as much on the nose. Yeah, this one's even, I'd say arguably even more mild than this last one here. Not a whole lot of proof going on. Also not as much flavor either, unfortunately. Yeah, just a lot of vanilla, caramel. You know, there's also baking spices, I should note too. And again, that's kind of, you know, quintessential bourbon. There's going to be just, you know, your kind of clove, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice. What are some of the other ones? Black pepper, things like that. They're going to be, you know, at least prominent in most of these, if not all of them. Most bourbons are going to have a different, you know, varying level of baking spices, pretty much in most of the expressions they offer. All right, so let's go to the last one here. This one I'd say is arguably a little bit sweeter than probably all of them so far on the nose. Yeah, this one is really sweet on the nose. It's almost like a vanilla frosting or like a vanilla custard kind of a thing going on. That nose is really nice. All right, let's go for a sip. Yeah, this one definitely has more flavor than the last two going on with it. You know, the proof I'd say is probably somewhere in the middle, but this one's just coming out very strong in the vanilla, the sweetness. Again, that cherry and baking spice is kind of rounding out that sweetness for me. But that's pretty good. That's got some more depth to it. All right, I'll take a sip of water here and then I'll kind of work my way back down through. I'd say so far these two stuck out as being the best. Probably then this one, and then these two were kind of toward the bottom. But since I just had this, let's go to this one again. Yeah, there's just something on the nose here compared to this one that I'm just not liking quite as much. It's just like a little bit of some mustiness, or, you know, just something that's a little off to me. Yeah, this one isn't really doing it for me as much. Again, even regular Maker's Mark I like, but this one to me isn't doing as much. All right, let's go to this middle one here. Okay, so this one, now that I'm going back this way, is coming off a little bit sweeter than this one, which, again, that's why you go down and back when you're doing flights, just because coming off the heels of one thing versus a different thing, you can get a completely, you know, not different nose, but you'll pick up on things that you might not have before on going one direction versus the other. So yeah, there's a little bit more sweetness, a little bit more fruit that I'm picking up this go around. Yeah, I'd say this one is marginally better than this one so far now. There's a little bit more flavor going on, a little bit more of that fruit and sweetness. All right, let's go to the second one here. Yeah, there's quite a bit more going on with this one than I think these other three. Oh, there's a ton of brown sugar in this one that I'm picking up on. There's this nice depth and sweetness. Oh, that's really nice. There's a lot of caramel busting through there too. I mean, this one honestly smells like dessert. It smells like a tiramisu or like a creme brulee. There's just a lot of layers of sweetness going on. And there's that proof too. Again, if my guesses are right, this is definitely one with a little bit more proof to it. Yeah, this one's very complex, very good. One of my front runners here. All right, so let's compare it to this last one here again. So out of these two, I'd say this one here has a little bit more like fruit notes going on than this one, which is more that caramel brown sugar. That's kind of the main differences I'm picking up between these two here. This is like a fruit custard. This is more like like I said, a tiramisu, kind of that cinnamon caramel brown sugar. So this one, if I had to guess, I would say is probably the regular cask strength, which, again, I've never had. I've only had the regular Maker's Mark and the 46. But this to me is standing out as kind of your typical wheated bourbon notes, but just kind of dialed up a little bit. This is really well balanced. You know, there's a lot of fruit, sweetness, spice, some oak going on. And yeah, these two definitely are sticking out a little bit of proof. And again, that was the one thing, you know, I was worried about, that hopefully it wouldn't, you know, throw some bias into this at all. I like more, I wouldn't say high proof. I don't, you know, just drink cask strength or anything like that. But sometimes that can help bring some of the flavors out. And some whiskeys can drink hotter or not as hot as they are. So, you know, you could have a, say, a 90 proof drink a little bit warmer than that, or say a cask strength that doesn't quite drink that hot. All right, so now I'm just gonna do some quick AB comparisons, you know, just to see if there's anything that stuck out that I didn't get before. So I'll probably fast forward this part a little bit because it's just gonna be a lot of this, right? So before I do that, I'm also getting a lot of just red apple on this one too, which, you know, I think I said cherry before, but there's also some apple coming through now, like got really fresh green apple. All right, so I've ranked him here. I believe this is the correct order. Again, I'd like to say, like with anything else, you know, both on my channel and with anything, you know, whiskey related, this is all going to be subjective. So your taste can change, you know, even from day to day. So, you know, this is kind of how I'm feeling right now. This is a snapshot of what my palate's, you know, tasting and how I'm experiencing these just right here in this moment. So take this with a grain of salt. You know, I'm only one person. This is just my taste. Just because this one's the first, this one's last, doesn't mean, you know, to go rush out, pick this one up versus this one. It's all going to be subjective. So let me look at my cheat sheet here. All right, so in last place is E. That's going to be the regular Maker's Mark. All right, there we go. And again, to me, that one just stood out as not having quite as much going on for it, which makes sense. You know, I could kind of tell the proof wasn't there, but also there wasn't as much going on in the nose, and the palate just, you know, kind of lacked quite a bit. In fourth place, we've got C, which is the 101. So I'm kind of surprised with this one. You know, that one's kind of middle of the road with the proof, but that one fell to fourth place. Still was good, just, you know, didn't have quite as much going on for it as the other ones. Third place, we've got letter D, and D is going to be the 46. So that just goes to show that proof isn't everything, right? This one's 47%, this one's 50.5%, but I liked this one better. Just had more flavors going on that probably had to do with the French oak stave profile. All right, so here we go, 2 and 1. Second place is letter A, which is the cask strength. So this one I just recently picked up. I know that here in my neck of the woods, that was about $36, $37. Again, depending on where you live, it could be a little more, a little less, but to me, that's just a fantastic value bourbon. It's cask strength, it's a wheater, which, you know, a lot of those are, you know, Buffalo Traces are allocated. So if you can't find a good wheater, I definitely recommend the Maker's Cask Strength. That's really, really good. And that means in first place, winning this is this guy here, the 2021 limited edition FAE 01. To me, this just had kind of the most flavor going on, the most depth to it. Again, it is cask strength, so the proof is up there. You know, you can water it down a little bit if you want. This just had so much going on for it. I can definitely tell why, you know, the price point's a little bit higher on this one. I believe it's kind of in that $65 range or so, again, depending on where you live. I mean, these two are really good. I recommend the 46. Even the regular Maker's is good. I mean, all of these had really good flavors going on. There wasn't really anything standing out that was just horrendous by any means. You know, there's a reason Maker's Mark is one of the more popular brands in not only the country, but just in bourbon in general. They make a good product. If you can find this one, I know it's, you know, still out on some shelves right now. Hopefully they have another limited release. I'd like to get my hands on that too. You know, if it's as good as this one, I definitely recommend it. You know, there's a lot of allocated limited releases that are, you know, $100, $150. So again, for the price point, the proof, and all the flavors, go pick this up if you can find it. That's going to be it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to comment, like, and subscribe on the video, that would help me out a ton. I read all the comments, you know, from you guys, and yeah, I hope you had fun with this one. My palate's a little bit shot right now after doing 5 of these, but I had a lot of fun with this. I was really looking forward to doing this video, so hopefully you guys like it, and yeah, we'll get some more reviews out for you guys soon. All right, cheers. Let's go with the FAE 01. Keep on sipping.